Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This week's show, we're talking about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Please Put Them On Takamine-san Season 1, Episode 6. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So we're immediately picking up where the last episode left off, and so it's like, okay, the electricity's back on, and so Takamine is going to make some food, and Koshi's like, oh, like, you don't have to make me anything. Don't go through that much trouble. And she's like, who said I was making anything for you? But she's like, fine, I'm going to be making dinner for myself, so I'll just guess I'll make enough for you. So a part of me was like, she's probably always going to feed him, but I think it's just a situation of like, it's an overcompensation thing. I mean, maybe it just is just her personality, but I do believe she overcompensates because she doesn't want to like seem so vulnerable in front of him. We kind of get that throughout the episode, but it's just, she puts on this strong front because I think on some level she's thinking like maybe her meekish self, because I think whatever was said between her and Koshi when they were younger like scared her, so she's like, I'm gonna be this person, I'm gonna be a strong person that's never like, I'm going to be so infallible that he'll have no choice but to like love me. I'm going to be this person. I'm going to adopt this type of personality to gain his attention and love. I think that's what's going on here. And she's putting up this front wearing this mask because she thinks it's going to get Koshi more, maybe it might be a thing of I don't want to be too vulnerable because the last time I put my heart out there, especially when it came to Koshi, he kind of turned me down. But once again, we don't know what Koshi said. We didn't get that line of dialogue because it's so long ago, so I don't know if he remembers what he said. He knows he like turned her down, but we don't know the specifics of what was said, and also what was said versus like how Takane like internalized it. So, but either way, when this is all said and done, she's got it in her head like, oh, this will be a perfect time to play a game. So we're playing the newlywed game. We're gonna play house, husband and wife. But like Koshi was like, no, we don't have to do that. But she's like, oh, we will. And if you kind of fail, your punishment is that you're basically going to be single for the rest of your life. And she says it's also like kind of like a 0%, like basically you have a 0% chance of ever like getting married or whatever anyway. So she's kind of like, it's not that much of a strike against you if you lose this game. And he's like, oh, is that what you really have an opinion of me? It's like more likely it's like a, oh no, she wants you to stay single because it's like because at least that way there's always a chance between you and her. Either way, she does the classic cliche thing of naked apron situation and she's cooking and Koshi's getting so distracted and he's just like, and you should probably put something on. So it's like, hey, put my underwear on for me. But for him, it's like that didn't change anything. She's still just wearing an apron with her underwear, so he burns the food, so she has to rewind the time to undo it. She's just like, Jesus, you can't do anything right, can you? So they're eating food, and she was like, no, wait, before you even take a first bite, let me feed you. And you're like, oh, wow. And then some drips because he took so long, and she's like, go ahead and lick it up. You shouldn't have to, you shouldn't waste any of this food I spent this time making. And so he's about to, but then we see the time rewind. I'm like, wait, how are we doing this? She's not wearing anything. Once again, forgetting the pasties. And so it's like, oh, she's like, oh, such a shame. She's like, it would have been so funny to see you do that during in the air, just to make fun of him a little bit, just to kind of leave him there sticking his tongue out. It's like, oh, because I thought she did it so she could rewind it, technically make it so that it never happened. Even though, once again, Koshi's pointed out, even if you rewind time, I still remember everything. So it's not like it's been completely undone. But it's like, I thought that's what she was going to do. She was like, at first I was like, oh, she's doing it because like you did do it and she got embarrassed and she rewound it. But it's like, but he would still remember. But then I was like, oh, did she do it because he ran out of time? It's like, no, she did it just to try and embarrass him, but it didn't work. So the food turned out great, and now it's time to go take a bath. And he's like, no, you go first. And she's like, well, newlyweds, we should take a bath at the same time. She's like, 90% of newlyweds take a bath. Because she's like, where are you getting these statistics from? And so in typical fashion, like wants to wash her on his own, but she comes in, at least she's wearing something, but obviously the thinnest of thin things. And he's just like, God, that's even sexier than being naked. So it's like, a cliche, oh, let me wash your back situation, doing everything she can to tease him. He's doing everything he can not to get an erection. So it's just like, oh boy, you feel so bad for Koshi because you're like, she's always had you wrapped around her fingers, but she's playing and teasing you so much, and he knows that, but he can't help but get so flustered. Cliche, protagonist, in a manga or an anime, So what else do you kind of expect? But her also washing his hair, like fiddling with his ears, and he's just kind of like, get away, because he's starting to get hard, and he grabs her boob and gets hard because she's like, oh, save that for the bed, honey. And so he immediately like jumps in the bath, and she's like, what's the rush? And she's just like, yeah, I haven't washed your, and I think she was going to say like maybe his front or whatever, but then she kind of looks, she doesn't, I don't think she sees anything because of the way he's turned, but she looks like what is essentially in the direction of the front of him, and she gets flustered. That's what I think is so funny, is that like 90% of the time, I'd even go as far as saying 95% of the time, she's able to be so in control, because she is very controlling and she likes being in control. I mean, hence why she rewinds time to get everything perfect. But she was just so in control 95% of the time, is able to make him flustered, and she loves and gets giddy how flustered he is. But there is that 5% where he will say or do something that flusters her. In this moment, she's like, oh shit, he got hard. Well, she's like, well, you go ahead and rinse. It's like, even though she plays all these games and stuff like that, because she even said earlier, like, oh, I actually rewound time because I would never allow you to, like, what would that say about me as a woman? Like, that I'm a lewd woman if I let you lick me or whatever. But it's also like, with all this teasing and stuff, it got real and kind of awkward, because she's like, oh, my teasing lady, you get an erection and you're trying to hide that. And it's like, oh, okay. It's like, despite like how like itchy and like perverted she gets with him, like even she kind of knows, like, even because he'd even said at one point, he's like, where's she drawing the line? Because she keeps going further and further, but then saying like, this is not okay, but this is okay. Once again, it's about control. And I think knowing like him actually having a reaction like that, other than just feeling bashful, like his body having that reaction kind of made her go like, oh, I think there's probably this feeling of, oh, I'm kind of awkward around it, but I also like that because it means that you had a reaction to me that way. So, and the fact that you're trying to hide it. So there's a lot. And then finally, when it's time to go to sleep, she sneaks in there and she's like, I want you to know who we are to each other. And basically she's like, I am like basically your everything. And you kind of like, I want to reestablish that relationship, that I'm kind of your everything as my closet and stuff. And he's like, wait, what? And then he pieces it together. He's like, oh, so this whole thing, the reason why she's been going so harder to paint since the light came back on is because she was embarrassed, because she showed her weakness in front of me, and she wanted to kind of put me in my place to remind me like, no, you might have saw my weakness, but forget about that. Here I am dominating you. And so like, that's what that was all about. But there's also the thing of she likes to tease him. But I think dominating him and kind of putting him in his place was more so the message behind it. But I do believe she enjoys her games when it comes to him. So I also wasn't expecting like the little fireworks angle to the episode too, where it's like, okay, we're supposed to go around making sure students aren't doing anything bad. She's walking around with no bra or underwear on, and so he has to put one on on her in public. But then she immediately uses it later on when they finish their patrol. And then Koshi was like, oh, what was that about? Because I was like, did the patrol not go perfectly? Because she's like, well, nothing happened in this area. Because he's sidetracked because he's thinking about her, and it's like some people walking by him and like, oh, that couple, oh, looks like they kind of don't match, because it's like she's so way out of his league. But then he starts thinking, what if we were a couple? What would she say about it? He's like, oh, like, and he's just thinking like not much would change. The only thing that would change is the adjectives about who they are, but their dynamic would stay the same, because he's like, personality wise, nothing would really change. She'd just be like, well, this is expected of a boyfriend to do this for his girlfriend. And he's like, yeah, we're going to be too much different. But he's getting sidetracked with those thoughts, and she's just kind of like, all right, we're done patrolling here, takes off her underwear, rewinds time, and it's like, wait, what? Wait, why did you do that? And she's like, I didn't want to walk all the way back here. It's like, I figured we might as well like check other places. So they do it to another place. He stuck it because he sees this one couple where this guy's drinking a beer, because his girlfriend is like, oh, like, do you have a beer? And he is like, hold on. And he basically mouth to mouths it to her. And she's like, oh my God, you're such a perv. And then like the moment afterwards, she was asking, Takane was like, oh, Koshi, do you have a drink? And he's about to think, he's like, should I do it? He's like, but then she'll tease me about it because I won't muster up the courage to do it. But even then, she's so competitive that she will kind of go through with it just for the purposes of asserting her dominance. But then he just hands her the tea, and then she's like, all right, put my underwear back on, puts it on, and her immediately taking it off. And now it's like, okay. I mean, for one, that's kind of a lazy way to go back. It's like, you know what? I don't want to walk out with that, so let's just use our spawn point. But then I started thinking after she did it the second time, I was like, well, no. Like, are you doing this? And, you know, she does it over and over again. I'm like, are you doing this so that the night never ends with Koshi? Because it's twofold. Either she's just trying to keep the night going, hoping something will happen, or she's trying to find the perfect moment. So she does it over and over again. And he's like, yeah, we're in places that are less crowded. There was even a place we went that was more full of couples. I think she was kind of hoping like it would trigger something in Koshi's mind. And maybe like these situations will cause him to kind of do or say something. But he's been so wrapped up in his fantasies that they've kind of, I think he's kind of screw the pooch on like the fireworks going off. So I think it's just a culmination of a lot of stuff. It's like, here we are alone, and he's like, what could she be waiting for? He's like, every time we take a break is when she rewinds time. It's like, wait, could she be waiting for a confession? But he's like, no, that can't be the case, can it? And so he's racking his brain around that, and he's like, what was she trying to get out of this whole situation? Why did she keep rewinding? And even we don't clearly know, even as the audience, but it's like it's pure conjecture on my part. But like I said, I think she was trying to find the perfect moment, the moment she felt was perfect between them. And because he was saying like, yeah, the more she rewinds time, the more frustrated and flustered she gets, because I think for her, she feels like it's not the peak romantic moment that it could be until the final one, where it's like, oh, the fireworks go off, it's magical, they're all alone, it's a really beautiful viewpoint it checks off all the boxes of like what would be the perfect romantic spot for like the fireworks to go off. And she's like, oh, how was that? And he's like, oh, they're pretty. And she smiles. She's like, oh, that's such a like weird way to phrase that, but she's like, it's nice, because even Koshi was like, I don't even know if I was talking about the fireworks in that moment or her. But she's like, all right, we can go home now. And he's like, it's not till later on. At the moment, I didn't realize like why she kept rewinding time over and over again. But like I said, I think she was trying to find the perfect moment for them to have a moment. You know, she wanted the perfect moment, and it just wasn't happening. And so she picked a place that had higher elevation so you can see the fireworks better, and it was alone, a perfect view and everything, and him saying what he said. I think also like, because she wanted him to say something or do something that kind of probably like added to the moment, but he kept missing the moment because he kept getting sidetracked. And in this moment, he finally did say the right thing, I think, or at least something. And I think it's one of those situations of you don't have to say the perfect thing, you just have to say anything, and that makes it perfect. So that, once again, pure conjecture on my part, so we probably won't find out till later on if that ends up being the case or not. So I believe this is season's only 12 episodes, so I believe we are at the halfway point. I'm tripping over my words. We are at the halfway point, I believe. So I'm excited to see where the next episode ends up taking us going forward with all of this. I mean, these were some very interesting events last episode and this episode for Koshi. So I'm curious to see how much of this he carries over. Like when they like, I mean, technically they're already back in school because like them like acting as not chaperones, but just kind of like checking and patrolling. Like they are already back in school and stuff like that. Because I don't think this was a break. I think it was just like, wasn't it just like that particular day? Because it was raining, so it's like this was probably like the next day of school or a couple days later, whatever the case may be. So it's just probably going to be back in regular school next episode. So like I said, curious to see what other shenanigans and situations happened. Also, once again, there's like 2 or 3 other characters in the intro, and we have not met a single one of them yet, even though we are kind of at the halfway point in the season, which is interesting. So I'm still excited to see who they are and what role they play in all of this, and just what situation Koshi and Takamine find themselves in going forward. But really, that's all I want to talk about. So the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.